I am in a book slump. This is officially my first book slump of my YouTube journey. Well, it's more like a mini slump. To be so completely realistic, I don't think it's an actual slump. I have just not allowed myself to buy any new books this week, and I don't want to read anything that I currently have. So this whole entire week, I have not read a single thing. I have not been able to bring myself to pick up a single book since I finished The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And so because of this, I figured I would take my first whack at a tier ranking video. I was originally going to do this at the end of the year, so it would be all of the books that I read in 2023, but my reading goal is 100 books. Right now, I'm at 64, 65, and according to Goodreads, that's only like 5-ish books behind schedule, so I think that's attainable. But I figured, since I'm a little past the halfway mark, I would do half of the books now, and at the end of the year, we will do the other 35, give or take, hopefully more books. So let's go over our tiers, my nifty little tier list. I'm so proud of this. If I had filmed the process of me making this tier list and then figuring out how to screen record on my laptop, y'all would have thought I had the intelligence levels of a Neanderthal who had never seen a computer before. So for tier 1, our top tier, we have cremate this book alongside my body and mix it in with my ashes. These are obviously my top tier books that I feel so deeply for that I truly have no other way to describe my love for them other than the fact that I wish I could absorb these books into my being. Now for tier 2, we have Put It in the Mausoleum. This was originally going to be engraved on my headstone, but if we're getting cremated, that doesn't add up. So instead, we're gonna have a mausoleum. And inside this mausoleum, we're gonna have my ashes, but we're also gonna have bookshelves. And these are gonna be all of the books that I don't feel quite as deeply about as the first tier, but I still love these books very much. I want them close to me in death, and I also want other people to know that I read and loved these books. Now for tier 3, we have You Were Cute. Like, okay, you were cute. Like, I liked you. I genuinely liked these books. I thought they were good. I just don't feel quite as strongly about them to the point where I need to keep them in my clutches of my death. Next, we have tier 4, and these are books that made me feel like this. Just like this. Absolutely nothing. I may have somewhat liked these books while I was reading them or did not dislike these books while I was reading them, but if I think about them now in this moment today, I feel nothing. Also, if you've recently watched any of my other videos where I gave any of these books a star rating, and that doesn't seem to fit with where I put them in these tiers, like it doesn't seem to add up, just don't worry about it, because this is separate. This is a different thing. And then the next tier we have is smooth brain books. These are books that I don't really remember reading or books that I could tell you very little about. Like, they just did not absorb into my brain. They slid off, hence smooth brain. And then lastly, our very bottom tier is honestly mad about it. Because it is one thing to read a book and not be into it, to not really like it very much, don't feel satisfied by it, but you move on with your day, you move on with your life. It is what it is. But these are books that I still think about to this day and feel actively mad about. So let's just get into it. I do have these books organized in the order that I've read them this year, and some of them are missing. Like, I didn't include memoirs and nonfiction because I don't really tend to rate those books. And then some that were part of series I combined into one. So it's a little bit less than 64, 65 books. So first up, I have Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms, and I already have a controversial opinion. I am a Tower of Dawn apologist, a Tower of Dawn enthusiast, a sympathizer. I love Tower of Dawn. I'm pretty much indifferent to Chaol during the entire series, but it is not until Tower of Dawn that I actually like his character, and I like the story of Tower of Dawn. And honestly, don't sue me, I think I liked Tower of Dawn a teeny bit better than Empire of Storms. All of this was at the end of last year going into this year. I did an entire Sarah J. Maas reread. I literally binged all of ACOTAR, all of Throne of Glass, and then both Crescent City books, as you will see. This was the first time that I did the tandem read, and I flew right through that. The first time I read this series, I did not know about the tandem read, so I made sure I did it this time around. And then obviously after I did the tandem read, I went into Kingdom of Ash. Loved it, amazing, beautiful. I really hope that Aelin and Rowan live a peaceful life. But all of these are going to go into the mausoleum simply because they just were not my favorite books of the entire series. I very much love Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows. Those were more so my favorite books in this series. So next we have Bunny, and this this one's another banger. I have talked about this book nonstop on my channel. It is no secret that I love this book, the aesthetic, the weirdness, and it is also going in the mausoleum because at this point, liking this book is a part of my personality. Next, I read both of the Crescent City books, and House of Earth and Blood is going to go in the mausoleum, and honestly, I think House of Sky and Breath is going to go in Smooth Brain books. I just really need to reread it so badly. Like, I don't think I can tell you anything about this book other than what happens at the end. And I mean, can you blame me? First of all. Second of all, this was the last of a however many book reread. This was the last book of a 15 book marathon. My brain's not big enough to hold all that information, so it's going in Smooth Brain. We will do a reread before the third book comes out. Next, I have To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. I think I read this at the beginning of February around Valentine's Day, and I really just wanted a comfy, cozy, cutesy YA comfort book. And this delivered, so this is gonna go in You're Cute. Jenny Han knows how to write cute YA for the girlies. Like, she's gonna deliver every single time. Okay, now we're at our first bottom tier book, and that is The Perfect Marriage. This was a book that literally made me question if I had read the same book as everyone else. People loved this book, people rave about this book, and I honestly thought it was so bad. I thought it was so poorly written. I thought the characters were so poorly written. The plot twist made absolutely no sense. And I really don't feel this strongly about books all that often. Like, if I dislike a book, most of the times I can justify it and be like, oh, well, I just didn't like it, but I can see how other people like it. I don't feel that strongly about disliking a book. But this is a book that I genuinely do not understand how people think it's a good book. And again, that's really not something I like to say very often because your least favorite book is always going to be someone's favorite. And I don't like to make people feel bad for what they read. However, this book's an exception. Now, this was the point where I decided, after I had finished that 15 book marathon, that I was going to go back and fully annotate ACOTAR. I don't know what I was on. And as you can see, I made it through the first 2 books before I absolutely burned myself out. So, ACOTAR, gonna go in the mausoleum. And then, of course, we have our first cremation book. Sorry, I know the beginning of this is really repetitive, but after this, we're not talking about Sarah J. Maas anymore. This series just has such a special place in my heart, and I cannot change this. I read this series years ago. I think it really reestablished my love for reading because I've always been a reader, but of course I've gone through phases, and I remember this phase of my life so clearly reading this series. And I'm just like everyone else in that A Court of Mist and Fury is my favorite of the series, and I do genuinely think it is my most reread book out of any book that I own. Moving on, we're not going to talk about SJM anymore. This next move might make y'all think I'm a psychopath, but Tender is the Flesh is going in the mausoleum. I don't know what it is about this book, but I think about it almost daily. Like, something about it I am just so enamored by. Like, the concept of this book tickles my brain, and I know that sounds really weird and it sounds really sketchy. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what to do with this one. I literally read A Little Life for my very first YouTube video. Shout out if you've come from that video. I don't even think I originally rated this. I know for a fact I don't want it anywhere near me in my death, but it also would be so highly inappropriate if I were to put it in You Were Cute. Could you imagine? So I think this is gonna go in Honestly Mad About It because that's genuinely the only place that makes sense. And honestly, I am angry about the absolute that happens in this book. So next we have A Certain Hunger, and this is gonna go in I just did not love this book. It didn't do a whole lot for me. I don't think I loved the writing style, which I know the writing style was intentional because of the type of character that she is. I just didn't love it. I love books about cannibalism, and that was pretty much the only thing that I did like about this book. Boy Parts by Eliza Clark, going in the mausoleum. I loved this book. This book was a slay. Eliza Clark is a slay. I will always recommend this for a weird horror girl recommendation. Next, I have My Year of Rest and Relaxation, and this is going to go in You Are Cute because I did enjoy this book. The character of the therapist is honestly one of my favorite types of characters. Like, it's gonna get a giggle out of me every single time. I don't really have anything bad to say about this book. It got a little boring at some points, but I thought it was cute. And The Bell Jar is gonna go in, and I'm sorry, that's probably also controversial, but I did not like this book. And before anyone says it, Yes, I got it. I understood it. I just didn't like it. Next, I have Womb by Duncan Ralston, and this is gonna go in... Actually, this is gonna go in Honestly Mad About It. And not for the reason that you think. I'm upset about it because I honestly kind of liked it. This is just not the type of book that you openly and willingly say you liked. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. The Stolen Heir by Holly Black is gonna go in Smooth Brain Books. I did like this book, and I love Holly Black. I just don't think I could tell you a single thing about this book. I honestly spent most of the time confused because it's been so long since I've read the Cruel Prince series, and a lot of the events of those books are mentioned in this one. So most of the time I was just like, what are we talking about here? Next, I grouped the whole little Crowns of Nyaxia series into one. The Serpent and the Wings of Night, the Six Scorched Roses novella, and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I am gonna put this entire thing in You Were Cute. Like, I liked them, but nothing about it necessarily stood out to me. Like, it wasn't necessarily revolutionary, which is fine. I'm not saying that every single book needs to reinvent the wheel. It just didn't make me feel strongly enough about it to put it any higher. You know, Gone Girl's gonna go in the mausoleum. I just want to make it part of my personality that this is one of my favorite books. I want everyone to know that I love this book. Gillian Flynn is just like a top tier author, and Gone Girl is so iconic. Next, I have The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchinson, and this is gonna go in Smooth Brain Books. This book is just so forgettable to me. Like, I do remember it right now. I just know in the years to come that it will be forgotten. So next, I have The Devil All the Time by Donald Ray Pollock. This book slaps. It is going in the mausoleum. You need to read this book. Then you need to go watch the movie on Netflix, and then rewatch the part of Tom Holland kicking that door shut, and also listen to Preacher's Daughter by Ethel Kane, and you'll get it. You'll feel the fantasy. You will understand why I love this book. Haunting Adeline, no explanation. Next, we have The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, and I feel like if I had a tier between You Were Cute and it would go there. I don't know. I feel like I also have an unpopular opinion when it comes to Frida McFadden because she is having her moment right now. She's very popular, and I just didn't love her writing. Keep in mind, this is the only book of hers that I've read, but I've read the plot twist before. I thought the main character was honestly really stupid. Like, the one character, the gardener, would speak Italian to her because he was Italian, and she kept thinking it was Spanish. Like, she would have this internal running monologue about how she didn't know which one it was. And I'm talking basic words like thank you, hello. Most 5-year-olds know that, and this grown woman did not. So I think it's gonna go in. Seed by Anya Alborn is gonna go in Smooth Brain Books. I didn't love it. I'm gonna forget about it. I could have done without reading it. It didn't really give me anything. Read Brother instead. Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After. This is gonna go in You Were Cute temporarily. This is all dependent on how the third book goes, because the third book has a lot of damage to repair, and it could make or break this entire trilogy. So, You Were Cute temporarily. Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. This is gonna go in just because I had a fine time reading it. I didn't really love it, and I don't really think about it now. Again, I haven't read any other books in the series, so this is a very surface level judgment. And this is also not me saying that I'm never gonna read any of the other books. Like, I still might, but for now, this one's gonna go there. Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. This book was crazy. I felt like I was watching a movie or an episode of Criminal Minds, and the ending did almost make me cry. So I feel like for that fact alone, it belongs in the mausoleum. For a book to almost make me cry or to make me cry, it's a very rare occurrence. Next, we have Six of Crows. I just don't know what it is with me in this book. I like this book a lot while I'm reading it, and I do genuinely think it's a really, really good book. But for some reason, I don't love it like I love the rest of these books. And when I go to pick up Crooked Kingdom, I just lose all of my steam and I cannot get into it. Everyone raves about how Crooked Kingdom is even better than Six of Crows. So maybe I just need to get the paperback version because I only have the hardback, and there is just something about the fact that a book is new that will make me want to read it more. So this is gonna go in You Were Cute. 9 Lives by Peter Swanson. This is gonna go in... This book just really didn't do a whole lot for me. It really didn't give me a ton of feelings. It is very mystery heavy, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. It's just not necessarily my taste. I very much prefer more of a thriller aspect to my mysteries, and I'm probably gonna forget about this book. Now, These Silent Woods, however, I loved this book. I want to see it made into a movie. I was expecting a very typical thriller going into this, and that is not what it was. It is way more. It hit me in the heart so unexpectedly, and this will always be one that I do recommend to other people. So I think it's gonna go in the mausoleum. It ends with us. Again, no explanation. It was a social experiment. On the other hand, it was not as bad as I expected it to be based on what the internet says. So next I have The Quarry Girls by Jess Laurie. I really liked this book. I do think I like it more than You Were Cute, but I don't know if I loved it enough to put it in the mausoleum. Okay. I put The Quarry Girls and The Silent Woods and You Were Cute, but they're at the very top of You Were Cute, almost in the mausoleum. These are two books that I would really recommend if you like books of this genre. Always gonna say these two first. Coraline is actually gonna go in the mausoleum just because of what this book and what this movie is to me. Again, I have absorbed this book, this movie into my personality. I want it to be part of my personal history, a part of my lore, if you will. It will be going in the mausoleum. Next, I have The House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. I loved this book when I read it. I loved this book for the aesthetic. It was like this gothic, earthy, foresty fairy tale type thing, which is right up my alley. So this is gonna go in the mausoleum just because I feel like it highlights my taste in books, and it always will be a recommendation of mine. So next I have Unspeakable Things, also by Jess Laurie, and this is gonna go in You Were Cute because I liked it, but I also liked it less than The Quarry Girls, which is also by her. So if you're gonna pick one of them, read The Quarry Girls. Icebreaker, obviously, also gonna go in You Were Cute, and I do think this is like the best representation of this category because it was cute. I turned my brain off, I vibed, I blushed, I was kicking my little feet. Like, this genuinely was a cute feel-good book to me. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. This is gonna go in just because I feel really neutral about it. I did like Grady Hendrix' writing. I was just so disappointed with the direction that the story went in. Like, the premise of the story had the potential to be so good, and it just wasn't. So, The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. This is also gonna go in the mausoleum. It is one of my staple comfort books. Like, it needs to be in there because it does hold a comfy little special place in my heart. And then I also have Cleopatra and Frankenstein. This is also gonna go in the mausoleum. I don't know why I'm so drawn to this book, but I feel like this is the first literary fiction book. Everybody's deciding to cut their grass today, to do a little weed whacking, to do a little leaf blowing. So please ignore the beautiful background noise. But I feel like this was the first literary fiction book that really made me appreciate a story just for the sake of it being a story. Like, so often I read books for a crazy plot because it's super thrilling, because I'm waiting for something to be revealed. And with this book, there was none of that. I don't know, you're just reading a story about two human beings, and that's all that it is. I thought the writing was beautiful. I fully understand why a lot of people didn't love this book, but I loved it. 19 Claws and a Blackbird is gonna go in Smooth Brain Books. This is a collection of short stories, and I only remember one or two of them, and I really only liked one or two of them. The Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy is obviously gonna go in You Were Cute, right along with To All the Boys I Loved Before. Red, White, and Royal Blue is also gonna go in You Were Cute, and I feel like this makes very much sense. Like, okay, this was cute, I didn't hate it at all, but that's really all that I feel about it. La Plana by Otessa Moshfegh is going to go in because that was my face when the Lord of the Town had the main character take a grape and put it in his and then give it to someone to eat. Me, Earl and the Dying Girl is going to go in You Were Cute, which, no, someone dying of cancer is not cute, but this was someone dying of cancer in that 2014 coming of age John Green Tumblr way. Now, The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. I loved this book. It's going in the mausoleum. It was just such a cool plot and such a cool twist. I have not read anything like it. I feel like I'm always going to remember this book, and again, it is always going to be a book that I recommend to other people. If He Had Been With Me, I think this is going to go in just because I feel so neutral about it. I didn't dislike it by any means. It's just once having finished it and putting it down, it just feels like a book that I read and I'm gonna move on with my life and I'm probably not gonna remember much about it. Flawless by Elsie Silver, this is gonna go in You Were Cute. I have maintained the opinion that this is like reality TV in a book, and I love reality TV. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is one of my comfort shows, and I don't watch it for its cinematic value. Flicker in the Dark is also going to go in You Were Cute. This is just like another basic thriller, but I would recommend it to other people. Next we have The Song of Achilles. And finally we have another book that will be cremated. I just reread this book and it has easily cemented itself as one of my favorite books of all time. It's beautiful, it's amazing, I think it's a work of art, and it did make me cry. I think about this book close to every single day. Big Swiss, Going in the Mausoleum. I was so pleasantly surprised by how much I loved this book. It was messy, it was funny, it had me giggling. This is a very specific type of book where you either get the humor or you don't. And I want it in the mausoleum. I want it in my museum of personal favorite books. Circe is going in the mausoleum, and so is Bones and All. And then I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. We'll get to that in a second. But this right here is why I'm in a slump right now. Like, this string of the past 5 or 6 books that I've read, they've all been like close to 5-star or 5-star books. And that streak had to end at some point. Like, the universe had to maintain its balance. Loved Circe, Bones and All, another book about cannibalism. And the smart girlies on TikTok have pointed out how cannibalism is like this metaphor for the deepest type of love. And I would have loved to have written a paper on that for English class and concerned all my teachers. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I think I'm gonna put this in the very, very top of the mausoleum, just because I fully think it has the potential to become a cremation book. It needs to stand the test of time. Those are books that I've read, I've reread, I continue to think about constantly. I will need to reread this book, and if I still feel this way about it in the future, it will be cremated. So this is my final ranking. I think I'm satisfied with it. I feel like this is a pretty accurate depiction of my book taste. And I honestly do love the idea of cremating my body, mixing it with the ashes of my favorite books, and then having a mausoleum full of some of my other favorite books. Has anyone actually done that? I might need to do some research, because putting my corpse in the ground and just having it rot does not seem like the most appealing idea to me. But this I can get behind. But this was fun. I very much enjoyed my first experience with tier ranking the books that I've read. Let me know what you guys think, if you liked watching me do this. If you did, then you can look forward to another one of these videos with all of the other books that I will hopefully have read before this year is over. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you decide to stick around, and I'll see you in the next one.